Assignment the World, next. 13 School Television Service helps you learn about the kind of person you are. All About You teaches the many different parts of your body that work together to keep you healthy, this afternoon at 1:15. Followed by Self-Incorporated, a program designed to help you overcome the problems of growing up. Here on Public Television 13.
Hi, welcome to this week's Assignment the World. I'm Larry Richardson. This week's top story is about the takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Iran. Several hundred Muslim students took over about 65 Americans hostage on Monday after storming the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. The students vowed to hold the hostages until the U.S. sends the former Shah of Iran back to Iran to stand trial for his alleged crimes. The Shah, who was deposed last January, is in New York City for cancer treatment. U.S. State Department officials say they will not hand him over to the Iranians. The Iranian government, which first said it would do its best to free the hostages, has now collapsed. Complete control of the Iranian government is now in the hands of the Ayatollah Khomeini, Iran's powerful religious leader. Khomeini supports the taking of the U.S. Embassy and has so far refused all requests to negotiate the release of the hostages. Meanwhile, in New York, 7 Iranian students chained themselves to the Statue of Liberty's crown to protest the Shah's presence in the U.S. Thousands of tourists were evacuated from the statue, and then protesters were arrested on charges of disorderly conduct.
57 years ago this week, November 4th, 1922, English archaeologist Howard Carter discovered the entrance to the tomb of child King Tutankhamun while exploring the legendary Valley of the Kings in Egypt.
About a dozen members of the Ku Klux Klan and the American Nazi Party have been charged with killing 5 people and wounding 10 others in a gunfight in Greensboro, North Carolina on Saturday. The victims of the shooting were members of a leftist organization which was preparing an anti-Ku Klux Klan march to protest the resurgence of the Klan in the South. The Ku Klux Klan is known for its sometimes violent attacks on blacks, Jews, Catholics, so-called radicals, and foreigners. An army colonel has overthrown the government of Bolivia and proclaimed himself president. The coup, led by Colonel Alberto Natusch, ousted the first civilian government Bolivia has had in 10 years. Colonel Natusch immediately declared martial law, ordered censorship of the media, and dissolved Congress. But large sections of the armed forces did not support him, and the Bolivian people ordered a general strike against his new government. So yesterday, Natusch suspended martial law and press censorship and promised he will permit elections.
Time for our first pop quiz. In our story on Iran, we told you that Iranians protesting the Shah's presence in the United States chained themselves to the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, the Ayatollah Khomeini. And the correct answer is number 2, the Statue of Liberty.
The Nuclear Regulatory Commission has announced a freeze on new nuclear plants. No new plants can be constructed, and 4 which are ready to begin operating will have to wait until the government is sure they're safe. In addition, the Commission announced that some of the nation's 72 reactors which are presently in operation may have to be closed down because they are too close to heavily populated areas like New York City and Chicago. The Commission said that if there were an accident at one of these reactors, evacuation could be very difficult. And now here are the answers to last week's clues in the news. Editi Nindek is one of our scrambled letter clues, and unscrambled it reads Ted Kennedy. Yesterday, Ted Kennedy announced he's running for president. The Democratic senator from Massachusetts now faces a contest among himself, President Carter, Governor Jerry Brown of California, and perhaps other candidates for the Democratic nomination. Whoever is chosen as the Democratic candidate will face the Republican candidate in the presidential election next November. Stalled talks refers to the talks being held in London to decide who will rule Zimbabwe-Rhodesia. The leaders of the Patriotic Front did not accept the British proposal for the transition to a new government, but they assert they are willing to negotiate to keep the 8-week-old talks going. This is a new kind of clue where you have to fill in the blanks with vowels to find out what the clue is. And when you fill in the blanks, this reads Election Day. Tuesday, November 6th was Election Day in the United States. People had a chance to vote for candidates in various state and local offices, such as governor, mayor, legislators, and town supervisors. We didn't vote for a new president this year. We'll do that next year. Unfortunately, there was a lot of voter apathy this year. That means that some people who are eligible to vote don't, because they don't care about it. But every vote counts. Candidates have sometimes won an election by just one vote. And that's why it's important for everyone to go to the polls.
Time for our second pop quiz. In our story on the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, we told you that the commission has announced it may close down some nuclear plants because they are too dangerous, expensive, noisy. And the correct answer is number 1, dangerous.
Kay Lowry is on special assignment this week. Kathy Lewis has a report on a job that will probably be in greater demand in the next few years because of the energy crisis.
Luck follows him across rooftops. From chimney to chimney, he ambles easily, the sun in his face.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with it. I just enjoy looking around.
Reinhard Rogowski has been sweeping chimneys for nearly 3 years. The housetop panorama on a summer's day still awes him.
I wanted to do something different.
So intrigued by risk, he left his job teaching.
Also, I wanted a job. I wanted a business of my own, but I wanted something where I know that the consumer really needed it done and that I felt good about it when I left. And I do. When I come here and I clean the chimney, I know I've made it safe. I know they can enjoy the fireplace. I would feel awfully funny if I didn't wear the traditional type of outfit. I have this real thing about the hat, that if I forget the hat, once I forgot it, and I was way out in Fairport and I drove all the way back into the city to get it again, I just couldn't walk into the house without it. It sets the tone. It shows that you're professional. It makes people feel at ease. They enjoy the costume. The children enjoy it. The adults enjoy it. They ask you to wear the hat. I just wouldn't feel right doing it without it.
With more and more homeowners relying on fireplaces and wood-burning stoves for warmth, the demand for chimney sweeps has increased. Do you ever actually go down the chimney?
No, you can't physically fit down it.
The chimney sweep can do most of his or her work inside, reaching up the chimney shaft. Is there big money in soot?
Yeah, there is. Business has grown tremendously over the last few years. Fall obviously is the big time. From September to January, I could do 5 or 6 of these a day, 6 times a week. And I charge $40, and I can make a pretty good living at it.
Rogowski was trained at a chimney sweep school in Connecticut. He's taught his wife and says anyone can learn.
I can do it. A couple of weeks ago, the Federal Communications Commission asked television stations to increase the number of hours they devote to children's shows. They asked the stations to provide up to 7½ hours of children's programming a week. We'd like to do a little survey of how much TV you watch a week. And what you'll have to do is this. Every day, starting today, write down how many hours you watch TV, and also write down what shows you watched. And then at the end of a week, add up how many hours of TV you watched, and then write and tell us first, how many hours of TV did you watch in a week? And do you think there should be more programs for children? And why or why not? And we're also interested in any comments you have about TV programs for children. We'd like to hear from all of you on that topic. Most people usually don't like to talk about death and killing, but our mailbag question on capital punishment prompted over 1,500 viewers to send in their opinions on this important issue. The number of death penalty opponents was only slightly higher than the number in favor of it. Many of the 746 opponents are against the death penalty because of the possibility of executing the wrong person. Barbara Buffone of East Northport, New York, wrote us to say she thinks we should rehabilitate them and find out why that person murdered or kidnapped or did whatever crime he or she committed. Gary Duplessis of Deep River, Connecticut, made a point which no one else had thought of. He noted that proponents of capital punishment overlooked the fact that to some criminals, the threat of death was not a deterrent to crime, but could act as a reason for killing in an effort to eliminate witnesses that could be instrumental in sending the criminal to the electric chair. Among the 634 viewers who were in favor of the death penalty is Dina Masella of Hamac, New York. Dina feels capital punishment is necessary to prevent criminals from killing more people and feels that these criminals who die are setting examples for the young people our age. Maybe the people who are thinking of killing someone will think twice and forget the whole thing. And finally, Margaret Bingston and 3 members of the Magnan family of Newington, Connecticut, wrote to us criticizing the attention given to the criminal. They feel the judicial system thinks too much about the rights of the criminal and ignores the rights of the victim. They said, since capital punishment has been put on the shelves in many states, crime has become more rampant, and people absolutely know they can get away with murder. The judicial process is too lenient. It should come down harder on all criminals who have little respect for their fellow man, laws, and rules. We thank all of you for your insights on this topic. And we want to remind you to get your ideas on the one major problem facing our country in the mail before Monday so we can have it for next week's show. We won't be doing a show Thanksgiving week since everyone will be on vacation, and that gives you 3 weeks to let us know how much television you watch each week and whether you think there should be more programs for kids. Send all of your ideas to Assignment The World, Post Office Box 21, Rochester, New York, 14601. That's Assignment The World, P.O. Box 21, Rochester, New York, 14601. And while you've got your pens and pencils out, here are the clues for next week's show. The clues in the news for next week: 11/11. That's right, 11/11. And secondly, for next week, 41 degrees, 53 minutes north, 12 degrees, 30 minutes east. That's 41 degrees, 53 minutes north, and 12 degrees, 30 minutes east. And finally for next week, Flying First Lady. Our last clue, Flying First Lady. Remember, these are clues for events which we think will happen during the next week.
Time for our last pop quiz. In our story on Election Day, we told you some people don't vote because they don't care about the elections. This is called voter sympathy, voter apathy, mental telepathy. And the correct answer is number 2, voter apathy.
New Hampshire is getting ready for its presidential primary in February. It's the first in the country. And officials say they've been deluged with applications to be on the ballot. Over 150 people have applied already. And one who's applied early is from Tennessee, and she's called the Princess. She's also registered for the past 4 elections. The Princess arrived in New Hampshire to apply, dressed in 3 wigs of different colors, an animal skin coat, and combat boots. Rather appropriate if you think about it. That's our show for this week. For all of us here at Assignment The World, I'm Larry Richardson. See you next week.